Hello, traders. It is 8 a.m. Chicago time on Tuesday, the 27th of December, 2022. Welcome back. Thanks for joining me again on our 2381st episode today. Um, Again, it's the last week of the year, so anything goes. Anything goes, I guess. Anyway, really enjoyed my break. Hope you had a fantastic holiday, and of course, Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates it. Happy Hanukkah, all that. And we're back in business. Derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. This morning, we have a market that is mostly sideways, really. We had a pop overnight across the board. The S&P in a gap up. The S&P still has a gap zone for the session. Actually, it does. Yeah, it's in a gap zone. Well, no, it doesn't because it just filled it in. It balanced out. Mixed sentiment. We're back at settlement on the S&P, basically 2.75 points up. The NASDAQ appears to be quite a bit weaker. The NASDAQ opened, was initiative initially, and then came back and filled the gap zone much earlier than the S&P by about 45 minutes or so. And is falling. You can see the NASDAQ's the only negative index on the board here. This is live, of course. The quotes you see here are live. As far as key earnings, didn't really see much today in terms of significance. Yeah, we don't have any big players today. And markets, there are several markets that are still closed. And China's zero COVID policy change has been changed. There's about 1 million cases of COVID a day and about 5,000 deaths a day in China. Currently, there are reports of hospitals, the hospital system being completely overwhelmed. The hospital system, of course, is completely under inventoried in terms of availability for the population. And so this is what the zero policy was about. But there's a lot of reopening optimism with China coming back online despite the COVID cases. And so that has a huge impact on stocks like Apple, which actually is starting to transfer some of its production outside of China, but will have an impact. Tesla, and so on. ECB to keep raising rates per not as a second half of tightening cycle begins. Today, in terms of economics, economic calendar, really, we're just not, there's not anything really significant. We do have Case-Shiller that just came out. Case-Shiller home price. Testing, test, see if we're back. Test. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. This new PC still has some sort of a conflict, and it just completely shut down. It just seems like the video cards drivers or something. Anyway, let's get down to business. A lot of time's been lost here. Let's take a look at what the market has in store for us. Essentially, the S&P for the last week or so, when I was gone, the market's has dipped down to 3,800, has tested. So this is the NQ. Let's look at the S&P. Has dipped down into 3,800. Has popped to 3,920 or so, and we are completely coiling and imbalanced. There's really not much that is going on with the S&P right now. We've got conflicting information, and the market is really trying to digest it. However, we are coming into Friday's balance, and 39.60 is the balance area for right now. It's got a lot going on in it. For a moment there, I was looking for 39.05, potential push to 39.45 to 39.55. 45 to 55 is a very important battle zone here for the sellers. You can see it on the chart. It's right in here. It's this kind of line in the sand right here, this low volume node. And so this represents 45 to 55. Obviously, we're 80 points away from there, and we opened up, we pushed to 3,900 and have come back into the range. This looks to me like it is very likely to be a choppy, bouncy day. Not much in terms of news that's in play here, and really, oh, I could see that I'm doing the max headroom thing. So overall, I'm looking for it to pull back into the point of control Friday and to balance out. So the magnet 3860 becomes a key area to test, and that's how it's likely to play today. Let's turn this camera off so it's not a distraction for you all. Boop. So here's what we've got in the S&P. So the S&P has, pushed down 3,800, pushed up, consolidated, and then on Friday we have somewhat of a P-shaped profile here, and we're coming right back into the point of control of that at 3860. I'm expecting, now that we're back at settlement, I'm expecting the S&P to continue to push back towards the 3860. And the question becomes, what does it do at 3860 today? That's what's important. What does it do at 3860? Does it bounce back up? Because we did have a weak high here, a relatively weak high at the stock zone right here, and we broke through it in the overnight session, and we're kind of bouncing around in it, but we're testing the range. The expectation is that it is likely to continue to go lower. It is likely to pull back into balance 3860 and then consolidate here for, however many long days. This line right here where it came off, that is the anchored VWAP from the Fed. You can see it held back here. It's holding here again. Again, this isn't a precision instrument, but right now that's what's in play. Looking at the relative delta for the S&P, it's been pretty good, holding up pretty good with price throughout the session. So the delta and price were moving in the same direction. However, you can see that it started to fork off, especially in the European Open here. We're starting to see separation, and the small lots have been selling, large lots holding steady. The overall delta kind of falling below the zero line. This move down is controlled by the small lots. You can see the large lots, again, large lots in the S&P, 10 lots to 99 lots on integrated trades. These are trades that are reassembled to represent the actual demand or the actual size that wanted to of the aggressor in the market. We re-aggregate that information using MBO data, very, very accurate. And then we break up how the aggressors are behaving. And you can see small lots has been selling off and bringing the delta down with them. This looks like a trader's kind of environment. Short-term trading is in control. This is what things are shaping up to look like. So overall, I'm not too confident that we are likely to see anything dramatic take place today. Here's where we are versus the bigger composites. You see how we pulled back to where we expected last week. When I left here, I expected the market to pull right back to this point of control here at 38, 60, 70. something like that. And we are still in that 38.60 area and just bouncing above it, traded below it, traded below it again, started above it, and trading at it now. So we are just kind of holding this line here at 38.75, 38.60, and we're likely to continue to do so. There's no news flow currently that forces the market to revalue its pricing, so I'm expecting more of the same. The overnight session is quite nondescript. We do have a bit of a line in the sand from the overnight session at about 38.82, 38.82, right up here. So that becomes a kind of it tells us whether or not we're going to get the overnight point of control stat. We have pretty good separation of full session VWAP from the mid, from the overnight point of control. So there's a little bit of imbalance. Currently in the overnight session, we have a distribution occurring right above the point of control. This is chopping here and like a bit of a megaphone. I'm expecting that this is likely to continue. Why do you think I expect it to likely to continue down into 38.60? Can anybody take a guess? I'll get back to this in a moment. Let's look at the NASDAQ for a minute. I'm actively trading the NASDAQ now. NASDAQ quite a bit weaker, opens a little bit higher, tests up, okay, comes almost to this next stock zone. By the way, my NASDAQ chart is my NASDAQ chart, the instrument set up to show 4 ticks per tick, 4 ticks per tick. So I'm plotting the NASDAQ in points, in point values to cut down on the just tremendous amount of noise that this product has. So I'm plotting it as 4 ticks per point. So all of the numbers you see here take into account. Like this chart is a 1 tick by 16 PNF. The equivalent of this will have to be 4 times the 16, which is 1 tick by 64 if you're looking at a standard NQ chart to get the same effect. So the NASDAQ's pulling back. The NASDAQ has already touched its equivalent point of control, which you can see here is relatively prominent. We're leaving this 11,350 area above us where we have been in balance and are moving down. The reason I see that this is likely to continue lower is because the impulse is down. Look at that impulse. This is an impulsive move and it is likely to continue lower. It's likely to resolve lower. And we have a point of control. We're back in the range and we have a point of control that's yet untouched. So bounce hasn't been touched. We have an impulse down. I expect it to consolidate and continue lower. And that's the primary hypothesis or scenario for this morning. The delta supports it somewhat, although small lots, seeing how active small lots are this morning and how much they're controlling the trade, I'm going to be cautious with my targets as there are likely to be shenanigans this morning. Back to the NQ, looking at the overnight session, same sort of thing. We had a nice little impulse, pullback, continuation in NASDAQ. We're now in balance. We're below the point of control. The NASDAQ's likely to chop around for a bit before it continues lower and retests into the 11,000 area. Now, while I have you here, I want to invite you to go to eclear.me/event voting. This link is pinned to the top of the chat window, the live chat window. Please take a moment to vote. We're going to vote every day this week. In fact, I'm going to share with you here the results so far. Let me turn off the camera because it's a distraction right now with the weird bobbiness. This is where the account is. It's at 10,212. Whatever the account balance is on the 30th, this Friday, that amount, the 10,000, will be donated. 10,000 plus at the moment will be donated to St. Jude's Children's Cancer Research Hospital this Friday. We'll be wiring the funds over to them this Friday. And what you're doing by voting is you are participating in us putting on those event contracts and increasing the value of the account. We started at 10,000. We took some losses early on as we figured this thing out, and it's the returns have been a little bit more consistent. Again, past performance not indicative of future results, and of course,
1 minute to the U.S. market open.
results may vary, right? So we're at 35 votes. Looks like most of you think we'll close higher. I need that number to reach at least 100 for us to put on this these contracts, and if the high confidence yes and the yes, whichever high confidence no and no, or high confidence yes and yes answers, if they exceed 66%, we'll put 2 lots in that product, 2 event contracts instead of 1, for a total of 6 for the ESNQ and CL. Please take a moment to participate in that. I'd appreciate it. Voting ends in about 1 minute. So, what are we expecting here in the NQ? Let's go back to the intraday chart for the NQ. The NQ really is on a roll downwards here. It is continuing this bigger push down, and to me, any push higher is likely to be refuted. Sorry, we had some problems today, and I'm gonna cut it off here and let you guys go. I am looking more to the short side than long today, both ES and NQ. Was going to talk about crude, but the technical issues got in the way. Thank you for voting.